All right, man. So what you're gonna end up having to do is, obviously, you have to disconnect the battery, take all this out, take out your intake, make sure everything's disconnected, make sure you don't lose anything. Transmission wise, down here, as you can see, right at the tip of my finger, that's gonna be an 8mm wrench, I believe. Actually, no, we'll find out exactly. It might be a 10. Well, this is going to be your line for your clutch. I'm drawing a blank. That's going to be how like your hydraulic lines would get to your clutch, so it can work properly for your slave cylinder, for the throw bearing, which will end up being a 11mm. You are going to leak some fluid out of there, obviously, because everything's all tied together. And then what you're going to end up needing, remove the axles. Right there, I believe it was a 32mm socket. Go in there, take the wheels off. I would then try to break it with a breaker bar to get them out. And once you have the axles, you have all that ripped apart. Where is it? And then you're gonna have to pop the axles out from the side of the transmissions. Let me grab a pry bar so I can show you exactly how to pop all this stuff out. Cheech, hold on. What you'll end up wanting to do is get like right in there. There's gonna be a slight little gap from the back of the axle to in there. You're gonna have to try to pop it real quick, because it's got a and the same thing on this side, because you have a like a locking thing at the end of the axle that holds it into place. Or you can go to your local parts store. They have the rental tool to get right in there. It's kind of like a pickle fork. What it will do is it'll go right in between the axle and the transmission. You hit it 2 or 3 times with a sledge at the bottom, pops them right out. So now back to like the whole removal thing. Right here you have a transmission mount, which you can see. Unfortunately, you can't really see it, but right there, I believe that's going to be a 17mm. Not 100%. I would have to rip my intake off to find out what that would be. Then in the back up against the firewall, this one is going to be a nightmare, because it leaves you with no room. You have a 17mm bolt here, the 17mm bolt there, and then I don't know if you can see it, 17mm bolt there that should be there. Come on, out of his yard now. Let's go. Sorry. And then you have your bolts here, here. These two right here is going to be where your starter is going to be. Make sure you get the starter and put it up out the way, otherwise you're going to damage them. And then right here should be a dowel. I believe a bolt here, bolt here, bolt here. And then there's a bolt right there. You have connectors here, right here. One's your speed sensor and the other one is, I'm drawing a blank on what the other one is. And over here on your shift levers, you would have a bushing here, and then you would have a bushing right there, and there is where your shift cable and your clutch cables would be, to be able to obviously shift your gears. But now while you're doing all that, I would recommend you grab your input shaft and wiggle it around. Check this seal right here. because they can leak. And if you have any play right here, I'm going to recommend you to go ahead and rip apart the entire transmission, which at that point you would have a bolt here, you would have a bolt right there, you would have to take out right there, remove that cover. This bolt right there will end up releasing your reverse idler gear, which you can pull out right when you take this case off. Take that out, remove this cap. The way Mitsubishi says is you take a flathead, put it right through, pop it out. You will have to end up replacing that. You won't be able to reuse it. There's a snap ring in there, and then you got bolts all around your bell housing. This right here, this whole assembly is gonna have to come out. There's 2 bolts there, one down there, and one right there. You'll have to remove those to be able to release the whole assembly. And there's a little piece at the very end. I'll see if I have a spare one in here. When reinstalling it, you want to make sure you don't lose it, because you'll have to rip the transmission apart all over again just to get to it. If you already have that cap in it, which, oh, there's that cap I was telling you about. You have to just stick a flathead in it and pop it out. But you would have to go ahead and take everything all out. Well, that's not it. But for your first question, man, that's how you would go ahead and remove your transmission. Once all the bolts are out, wiggle it a little bit, but watch out, because when you do that, the motor will drop down, so you might want to put a jack under it to reinforce it, and then lower it down gently to go ahead and free the tranny. You'll see like a little gap. It's gonna get hung up because it's still like inside the clutch and all that. Just get like a little pry bar like I showed you over there, wiggle it in there, and it will pop and it will drop right down. But before I forget, this, you have another mount right here in the front. It's going to be on your front cross member. There's just a bolt that goes right through it, and then that would be all the mounts for your transmission. You will have to remove the cross member. It's very easy. I believe it was like a 215 bolts and a 17, or it was like 2 17s and an 18, which I can show you really quick. Then you got those 2 bolts, and then right there, I'm not sure if you can see it, you have that bolt, and then it's a very easy job. Don't stress it. It's not that hard. And then just, if you have any other questions, man, feel free to shoot a message. You can post up on the Lancer pages. Many guys have done this before, but I would definitely double check on that input shaft bearing, because I'd rather you check it all out right now while everything's ripped apart, and then be excited, yes, I finally got my car back, go to throw it back together, driving it, and then before you know it, you hear like a whining noise that ends up being your input shaft bearing, and then you got to do this job all over again and go through the process. So I hope this was helpful, man. Like I said, I basically just gave you a quick rundown on how to tear the transmission apart and then how to remove it. So the only thing is that's going to be a nightmare is going to be putting it back in, having to line everything up. You just got to fight with it and wiggle it, man, and work it in there, work it back and forth. You may have to go ahead and play a little teeter-totter with the motor, going up a little bit, down a little bit, and just messing with it to get everything lined up, but it will eventually go in. So like I said, man, shoot me a message again if you have any questions. Post up on the page. That page is great. A lot of guys like to help you out, like to give advice and all that. So there you go, man. Hope this video helps.